Hey everybody, this is TJR. In late June, Disneyland Park in Anaheim, California opened the new Star Wars themed attraction Galaxy's Edge to the general public. Now, the park took a number of measures to help control crowds during what they anticipated would be an extremely busy opening. Park guests had to have a reservation in order to enter the new land, but only hotel guests were guaranteed a reservation, and your reservation would limit you to 4 hours. Lower tier annual pass holders were blocked out during this time period from attending the park, but this is normal during this time of year. This is considered their peak period. The park also raised prices to $149 for a single park entry and $200 for entry into both parks. This was done partly to keep crowds down, but I also believe because they thought there would be the demand. They braced themselves for crowds, and to everyone's surprise, the crowds didn't happen. During the initial reservation period, the park was quiet, but that was expected to change after the initial reservation period ended. It did not. YouTube creators who regularly cover Disneyland and other theme parks were the first to broadcast this news, with regular mainstream news sources picking up on the story afterwards. Now, with few exceptions, these park vloggers are independent video creators who are not endorsed by Disney, and their coverage of the new land was mostly very positive, and they were overjoyed with the fact that the park wasn't crowded. Disneyland not being crowded is great if you're a consumer. Now, not too long after this, another group of YouTube creators started posting videos with hyperbolic headlines claiming that Galaxy's Edge is already a complete failure, and it's the end of Disneyland and the beginning of the end of Disney as a company. Now, it's no coincidence that the YouTube creators making these doom and gloom prediction videos also have very strong negative feelings about the Disney Star Wars films, and have for the last few years been making a constant, continuous, weekly stream of videos reasserting their angry feelings about these films over and over and over again. Now, full disclosure, I like Star Wars, but I am not one of these hardcore fans who hates every Star Wars movie since the original trilogy. So I have no passion for seeing Disney disemboweled or destroyed. I think all of the Star Wars films, including the original trilogy, have their good points and they have their bad points. I feel that episode 4 and 5, the first two movies, are the best though. Now, full disclosure again, I haven't been to the Disneyland park in over 15 years, and Disney does not endorse me or my channel in any way. Everything I'm saying is just my personal opinion. It feels weird to have to say that, but these same Star Wars fans who hate anything that isn't the original trilogy will accuse pretty much anyone of being a Disney shill if they say anything even remotely positive about anything that isn't the original trilogy. Now, personally, when I first heard that this attraction was being built, I decided, yes, I will finally break down and I will finally buy a ticket and go to the park. But I also decided that I would wait at least 6 months from opening day before going so that the crowds could die down. I figured it would just be crazy busy. And I think a lot of people felt the same way. So the new attraction opens, and a friend of mine who has the premium signature plus annual pass that's way too expensive for my blood, that has absolutely no blackout dates, tells me that it's not crowded at all and that now is the best time to go. And so naturally, of course, I'm curious. I ask her, why is it not crowded? And she basically gives me the same reasons that I just stated earlier, the crowd control measures that Disney took. And about a week or so after that, she tells me that she can get me a special discounted Bring a Friend park hopper ticket for only $99. Now, this coupled with the fact that it hasn't started to get too insanely hot here in Southern California yet, convinces me that, yeah, let's go now. I want to talk about my personal experiences visiting Galaxy's Edge, give you my review, so to speak. But I also want to give my opinions on why the crowds weren't there. I also want to objectively address the more negative claims and complaints and arguments that some YouTube creators are making about Galaxy's Edge. And I want to give my predictions on what I think is going to more than likely happen with Galaxy's Edge moving forward. So first, let me just talk about my experience. As you enter this new land, there's first this long walk into it, and little by little, Disneyland and the rest of the world just kind of fades out. The first thing that struck me is just how immersive this new land is. A while back, I visited Universal Studios theme park in Los Angeles for the first time, and I visited their new Harry Potter attraction, which I thought looked amazing. But if I looked, up into the horizon, I could see signs of the outside world. I could see, LA buildings, telephone poles, that sort of thing. Now, I don't expect these theme parks to be completely immersive, and seeing, buildings in the distance in no way killed this for me. I really enjoyed Harry Potter Land. So that made Galaxy's Edge even that much more impressive. Because as I walked around, I could see none of the outside world and none of the surrounding theme park. And even though I had seen video of the attraction on YouTube, none of that could really prepare me for the level of scale and the impressive level of detail that went into just every single inch of Galaxy's Edge. And I'm not kidding, every aspect of it. It really is like you have entered into another world. But where Galaxy's Edge really impresses is at night, and I'll get to more of that in a moment. One of the first things I did with my friend is we visited Oga's Cantina. Now, this is an actual bar, and they serve alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. They serve some food as well, but not a lot. They have a robot DJ from the original Star Tours ride, and the music feels like music you would hear in a barroom scene in a Star Wars movie. And every once in a while, you will hear the classic cantina music from the original movie. Yes, the drinks are expensive, but just walking through this bar is an attraction in and of itself. There is just so much to see. And I will be talking about the food in a little bit here. Right now, there is only one ride. There will be a second one in September, but right now all there is the Smugglers Run ride. The walkthrough as you wait to get to the ride is impressive. There's plenty to see as you do that. The ride itself brings you right inside the Millennium Falcon. In short, I will just say the ride was awesome. I think a good way to describe it would be to call it Star Tours 2.0. But one thing that was different about this and that surprised me is that you're actually given some responsibility. You actually have to perform some tasks on the ride. You actually have to help with the piloting of the ship. Now, I'm used to the idea that on a ride, you can just sit and experience it. And I have to admit, having to work the controls kind of distracted me from the visuals that I wanted to experience. But it also added an element of realism that I wasn't expecting. Now, I should add that personally, I sometimes suffer from motion sickness from these types of rides. I don't let that stop me from going on them because I do want to experience them. Luckily, my experiences with meditation have kind of helped me deal with that. Sometimes if I'm on a ride like this or like the Harry Potter ride, I start to feel motion sickness coming on and I begin to just kind of repeat my mantra. And I'm still watching the ride, I'm experiencing it, but doing this helps kind of center my brain and helps me focus away from the motion sickness so that I can experience and enjoy the ride. Now, with Smugglers Run, however, the fact that I had to keep turning and pushing buttons, and trust me, it's not hard. It's actually really easy what you have to do. If something lights up, you just have to do it. I was an engineer. That was my responsibility. But basically, you just have to pay attention. If you see something light up, you have to push the buttons and do it. But just doing that distracted me from the motion sickness. And so that made the ride actually surprisingly more enjoyable for that reason as well. It was a really fun ride, but definitely they need to get the other ride open. There needs to be more than just one ride at Galaxy's Edge. So I stayed there for a couple hours because there was just plenty to see. Then I spent some time revisiting some of my favorite parts of the rest of the park before returning back to Galaxy's Edge at night. Now, I'm very glad that I did this because Galaxy's Edge at night is a completely different experience. And I would add that it's a better experience. Now, one criticism about Galaxy's Edge is that it's a bunch of shops trying to sell you stuff. Well, So is Harry Potter Land at Universal. There's 2 rides there, but the rest of it is just merchandise and shops. And the food is expensive too. A butterbeer costs you $8, but I don't see anybody complaining about it. But even those stores are impressive to just walk around in. And that's the same experience I had with Galaxy's Edge. Now, I didn't buy anything at the shops, but there's certainly plenty to look at beyond just the merchandise. There's just so much detail once again. I'm going to get back to that aspect of the park in just a moment because that deals with some more of the complaints that I want to talk about later. But let me finish talking about just the rest of the experience. Now, as you're walking around, there are things going on. There are characters walking around. At one point, we saw Chewie as we first walked in, and he's having some arguments with some other people who are cast members. They're working they're working on a ship. They're trying to do some repairs, and it's like you're walking past a scene from one of the movies. I also got to see Rey. I wished I had gotten some footage of that because at one point, these little girls saw Rey, and they just got so excited. They ran up to her. They started hugging her. And the parents started taking pictures of this, and just the look in the eyes of these little girls, and the look of the parents as they were taking the pictures, it was just priceless. I wish I'd kind of gotten footage of that, but I was just kind of just watching that as that happened. It was just such a very real moment. Also, at one point, stormtroopers came out, and they started harassing the park guests. And when I say harassing, I mean this very tongue-in-cheek. They started questioning people to see who might be a potential rebel sympathizer. They would walk up to one couple, husband and wife, who had their baby in a carriage, and they started looking at the baby and I think this is a rebel sympathizer. And they started questioning the parents about this, and it's all done very tongue-in-cheek. It's all done very humorously. Now, there are also some interactive things you can do at the park with your cell phone, where you can hack into things, just like at the Harry Potter Land, where, with your wand, which of course you pay for at Harry Potter Land, which those are expensive, they're like $40 or so. But there are interactive things you can do with your cell phone, which you don't have to pay for, you just have to download a free app. And you can, do interactive hacks with certain aspects of the land. They're kind of cool. I'm not really into that myself. I think there should be more of that, though. Now, I'm going to get back to the park in a moment, but I want to talk about the crowds or the lack thereof. Why wasn't it crowded? Now, a lot of hardcore Star Wars fans will tell you, well, it's because they disrespected the original trilogy fans. And I kind of think the reasons might be a little bit more different and a little bit more practical. I think that, like me, a lot of people were scared that it would be insanely crowded. Now, add this to the fact that not all of the attractions like Rise of the Resistance are open yet. Then add in the increased price. I think most families decided to wait for all the attractions to open, for the peak season prices to drop, and for the anticipated crowds to die down. Personally, afterwards, I kind of started kicking myself for not waiting till September when that new ride opens. That way I could experience all of it. And I'll be honest, if I hadn't gotten the $99 park hopper ticket that's good for both parks, I probably wouldn't have gone. I want to get back to the complaint that Galaxy's Edge is an expensive shopping mall. Well, so is Harry Potter Land. So is Main Street USA. Main Street USA is nothing but shops and restaurants. Personally, I count the train and the Main Street vehicles as transportation from point A to point B. When you get off of the Small World ride, you are immediately led into a Small World gift shop. New Orleans Square has one ride, Pirates of the Caribbean. The rest is restaurants and shops. Interestingly enough, Fantasyland is actually more rides than shops. It has about 11 rides and 6 shops, and that's not including kiosks. Toontown has only 2 rides, and the rest is just walkthroughs. But I love Toontown because it feels like I'm walking in an old-school animated cartoon. Galaxy's Edge will have a second ride in September, and it could very well expand on some of the walkthroughs as well. I can see areas where they might be able to expand it. But like Toontown, part of the experience is just simply walking around. Another complaint is no original trilogy characters. and no original trilogy setting. A lot of people have said, why didn't they set it on Tatooine? Why didn't they make the cantina the Mos Eisley cantina in Tatooine? Well, if they had set it on Tatooine, you are dealing with a flat desert landscape. Now, based on where this new land was built, if they had done this, you would have been treated to a lovely view of the Mickey and Friends and the Pixar Pals parking structures. Also, you would have been treated to a view of Tom Sawyer's Island. By creating an original location, they have creative license to build up and cover up all of those views. That's why they built the spires, to help complete the illusion. There are other practical reasons for not setting it in the original trilogy films as well. If you set it all in the original trilogy movies, then you are locked into that. By creating this new setting, they are able to bring in and update new elements to tie in with future movies and TV shows that they have planned. Batuu, where this new land is set, is not a known place in the Star Wars universe, at least to the best of my knowledge it isn't. But it could very well become one in either an upcoming movie or a TV show. And it may very well already be planned as part of the next movie for all we know. So I can see why they just decided not to set it in any of the original films, or the prequel films for that matter. Another complaint is, why no original characters? I heard a number of YouTube bloggers complaining about this. We see Kylo Ren, we see Rey. Why don't we see Han Solo? Why don't we see Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader? Now, this is where I feel that Disney will never win when it comes to the hardcore fans. Disney could have had these characters running around Galaxy's Edge, but then I think hardcore fans would have complained that having them there was out of continuity with the timeline that they've created for this particular attraction. Now, personally, I don't think continuity matters that much in a theme park attraction, but I can see where Disney might be cautious at first, given how continuity obsessive some Star Wars fans can be. By the way, I should add that Darth Vader, C-3PO, R2-D2 are all still in Tomorrowland. They still have the Star Tours ride. They still have the launch bay. They also have the Path of the Jedi in Tomorrowland as well. And that's another reason why you don't see these characters in Galaxy's Edge. But with that said, I think they should find ways to add them. I mean, screw continuity. It's a theme park. And having Darth Vader and Kylo Ren in the same setting has wonderful comic possibilities. Another complaint is that the food is too expensive. I had breakfast and dinner at the docking bay. It is a walk-up quick service restaurant. The cantina does serve some food, but this is the only really full restaurant at Galaxy's Edge. In my opinion, the food is no more expensive than any other theme park quick service restaurant food I've had. This includes the rest of the Disneyland park, and this includes Universal Studios in Los Angeles. I will say, though, that the quality of the food at Galaxy's Edge was above average and was above what I would have expected. It was also very creatively prepared in how it makes the meal look otherworldly. And that's part of the experience too, and it's not something you do every day. I bought a touring tea when I was in Oga's Cantina because I felt like I had to buy a drink as long as I was hanging out there. It was $8. It was too expensive in my opinion, but at least it was completely different from anything I'd ever tasted before in my life. Once again, I'm not going to do this every day. So what do I think is going to happen moving forward with Galaxy's Edge? Well, first of all, unlike Disney World, Disneyland is a pass holder park. By some accounts, there are as many as 1 million annual pass holders. And most of the pass holders are given blackout dates during the peak season. Now, word is already getting around that very soon they will start removing the blackout dates. By the time I visited last week, the park was definitely getting busier, but still, it was not the type of crowds you would expect at this time of year. Word is getting out that it's not crowded, and that's also increasing traffic because people want to attend before it really does start to get really, really busy. Now, once again on YouTube, I'm seeing videos with headlines talking about how they spent $1 billion on this and it's already a failure. Yes, they did spend $1 billion, but last year Disney made $12.6 billion in profits based on $60 billion in revenue. That still leaves them with $11 billion. $11 billion. I'm kind of picturing Bob Iger right now in his multi-million-dollar mansion, getting panicked. Oh my gosh, I lost $1 billion. I misplaced it. It was here and now it's gone. Don't worry, Bob. You still got another 11 billion. We're fine. We're still $1 billion company. Now, don't get me wrong. Disney has to take this opening very seriously. But they have suffered through dark times in the past, and they have pulled themselves out of it. Definitely mistakes were made. And definitely things did not turn out the way that Disneyland anticipated. But calling Galaxy's Edge a failure after little over a month is, in my opinion, ridiculously premature, especially when you consider the history of Disneyland. People forget how disappointing California Adventure was when it first opened. And it was an entire park. It was at first considered a failure, a massive failure. What did Disney do? They adapted and they made changes. Now California Adventure is popular, just like its big brother. Everything in Disney theme parks is built to be adaptable. The old submarine ride is now Finding Nemo. Even the original old-school Fantasyland rides have seen upgrades over the years to varying degrees. It had been 15 years since I visited Small World, and I discovered that it was noticeably different last week. I don't think that Disney anticipated that families and park fans would be sensible, that they would want to wait till everything was open, and that people were scared of really insane crowds, and for those reasons they stayed away. I also think that Disney opened this new attraction too early. If Batuu is going to be featured in the next movie, which is a possibility, then they should have waited, at least till then, for that movie to come out before opening this new attraction. But I also feel that they should have waited at least until the second ride was open. Quite frankly, I think that Disney should have referred to this opening month as a soft opening. I think they should have said that right from the beginning, because that's what it was. Yes, it was impressive, but it felt like a soft opening. It felt like not everything was ready yet. But trust me, I did not regret going. And I didn't go there just to see Galaxy's Edge. I went there for the rest of the Disneyland park as well. I went on all my old favorite rides, and even a few that weren't my favorites. I think that Galaxy's Edge is in its early growing stages. I think that they're going to learn from their mistakes. I think they're going to adapt. They're going to try different things because that's what they do. And they have proven this with California Adventure. To quote Walt Disney, Disneyland will never be completed. It will continue to grow as long as there is imagination left in the world. And Galaxy's Edge proves that there is. You can complain that there's no Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker running around inside of it. You can complain that it's not set in the original trilogy films. But you can't take anything away from what their Imagineers have built and created, because it looks amazing. No amount of video could prepare me for actually seeing it with my own eyes. Galaxy's Edge is just getting started, and I expect it to keep growing and changing. I can definitely relate to the complaints that some fans have with the prequels and some of the complaints with the newer films. I have my complaints about them as well, but I can also see what's good in them too. And quite frankly, I don't think that these hardcore fans will be happy with anything Star Wars related that isn't the original trilogy. But that's a video for another day. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Those were my impressions of the new land. Overall, I thought it was a worthwhile experience. And like I said, don't go there just for that. Go there because you want to visit the park too. And don't forget, this is just one component of the Disneyland theme park. It's not the sole reason for going. Share me your thoughts. Let me know what you think if you've gone. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you didn't like. And if you are one of those who just hates the fact that it's not set in the original films, please feel free to share your thoughts. I'm always open to listening. Just be respectful in how you express yourself. This is TJR. Thanks everybody for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.